Test
Hear
your
me?
audio. Yes, sir. All right.
All right, cool.
Okay, so this will just be kind of casual chat here of a couple things. So um for reference on the bigger picture of things, when I start my day, I go onto my phone. Typically, I look at I'm looking for voicemails or new emails that have what? Can you work with that question?
Um,
What am I looking for as my top priority when I start the day? It will interrupt my day when I see this. I come back from a shift and I look for this stuff. What's my number one focus? Do you know what I'm looking
I
for?
would I would guess like emails, phone calls, text messages, voicemails from Kent or contractors in Phoenix.
Okay, close. So um so I haven't even got to my computer. I pick up my phone in the morning. I go to my 144 inbox. So I'll give this is a hint. I go to 144 first. And what am I
Okay.
looking for?
Um, well, I mean, I'm thinking we do the same thing, but yeah, man, that's still kind of what I was thinking is new request kind of thing.
A new request that
Yeah.
I can see would go to what
And send it to like you look at it and say, oh, that's Tampa. Hey, I'm gonna send it to
I know
there.
exactly who I'm going to send it to.
Exactly.
Right. So the
Exactly.
top thing I'm looking for. So I think that So I open, same thing for voicemails when I go into the text, the voice accounts. But I start with 144 all the time. I do this at 8 p.m. Whenever I'm looking for new requests, especially if they're for Phoenix and things that I can right away see are going to go to Kent. Or the next level of stuff is stuff that I know can go to one of my other top builders that are in whatever other area, or in an
I
area
do the
where we have
exact same
multiple
thing.
overlapping builders like Phoenix, where maybe it's
Right.
too far east for Kent, but I've got two, three, four builders over in that area for that type of lead or whatever. So that's where
Right.
I
I did.
start, and I want to
Okay.
look at those and at least know they're there. But generally, I set aside everything to handle that lead. By handle that lead, I mean get it to Kent or get it to Nicole or get it to Steve, right? I don't necessarily even reply to the homeowner. I get it to the builder. That is the number one thing that I do is I receive the lead, identify it, and sometimes I'll have to, reply to the homeowner and say, hey, just want to verify your zip or some detail of the project. But I'm getting it to the builder. That is my top priority. Doesn't and this gets back to, months and months ago, you're like, well, what about me assigning leads? I'm like, don't worry about it. I got that covered. But over time now, you still have that. You've now adopted that orientation. You see a lead in a certain place and you're like, oh, I know exactly what needs to happen with that. And that's a matter of just send it right over. And then
Exactly.
I'll put it into NR1 and say, make yellow entry. I don't need to make the entry. I need to get it to the builder. And then I'll put the instruction to make the yellow entry. Whoever can handle that. Joel can handle
That's the next step that I need to get in the habit of
that.
because when I
It
send
takes
it
a
to the
lot of
builder,
time.
I go ahead and make
It,
the entry and
It
do all that
depends,
stuff.
man. It depends. So I'm talking about when I'm on my phone, right? I'm sitting on the fucking
Oh
toilet and I'm on my phone
yeah.
and I can do that. I can get it to Kent, but I don't want to take the time to, do
Right.
stuff that I'd rather do on my laptop or that I can just let somebody do in the next 24 hours. It's not urgent to do so many of those things as far as making the new entry, really. So sometimes my initial email will be to the homeowner and to Kent to introduce the two of them, or whoever it is. And my top layer of builders is whoever I immediately know. I know who I'm going to assign this to. I have my primary immediately identified. I do want to say CJ in Dallas or Arlington, he's not really in my top tier anymore, but he is one of those guys where I see a bid and he's the only guy I've got for that bid or for that request. Yes, I sent it right to him. So he counts in a way, but do you know why he's not and probably never will be one of my top tier builders? This is a side question. This isn't one of my main questions.
I'm guessing just because of his follow up.
No, no, that's not
No.
it. He's really good with reaching people mostly, with reaching people, setting meetings, giving them bids, closing deals, paying me. All those are good.
Okay.
Do you
I
know the
don't know.
issues? Okay, so the number one issue is low rate. He doesn't give me the 2.5% or 3% that so many people do. The 2%
Oh, right,
gives me a
right,
low rate.
right, right.
Number two, he pays me at the end of the project when everything's done. Can't pay. So let's think about another adjustment to what I said about Kent Klein and my top builders. Actually, if I see a lead where I go, I could make money off this today. I could have cash flow today or in the next week or in the next few days. What case am I talking about there? Because it's not Kent. What situation would fit with that? Do you know?
Yeah, I can't think of who it is, but they pay
Okay.
you up front. They pay you up
That's
front. I know who you're talking
if
about.
it's a clear lead like we had in Las Vegas lately for Nelly, where she
Yeah,
says, I want drawings for this. I know
right.
exactly what I want and I want drawings. Hannah can quote that. I can get paid and then I pay Hannah and that can happen in I
A
don't want to
week.
say in 20 minutes, but
Yeah, yeah,
that can happen right away. We reply. Maybe Hannah talks to the person and they're comfortable with Hannah and like, okay, let's do this. Here's the deposit. Here's the invoice. They pay it and bam. And it happens like right away. And this
yeah,
is something that should be uh, on your radar. If you're making commissions, you can't make $200 3 times today any other way but through Hannah.
yeah.
Okay.
Now,
Like on a brand new
honestly,
lead.
that is something that I've gotten really, really cognizant about. I've really, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I need to talk to Hannah about that one, or I need to get that one in QFD. Yeah, I have gotten really conscious of that.
I'm
So
aware that you're that you brought it up to me too. So I want to emphasize that actually would be like the number one thing if I'm I need cash flow. Well,
yeah,
that's not really my orientation. I'm more like, oh, fucking Kent Klein, he's going to pay me $1,000 for this instead of I'm going to make 250 or 400 or whatever from Hannah, which we might, but she hasn't been like closing deal. She's never closed a deal like within 24 hours of the request coming in, but it's
yeah,
possible, and it's actually I think it's pretty likely that that's going to happen, repeatedly over
sure,
time. So the issue is that her rates are good, and some people immediately go, "Shit, I've gotten quotes for this service, and if I have comfort and confidence in the provider, then I'm going to do this right now." Like they don't need to wait 2 weeks to get other quotes; they're ready to do it. Um, so Hannah has sample drawings of other projects that she's done before. I have some of them. And anyway, so there's that. Then there's Kent. And then there's pretty much every other of the higher ranks of builders, with CJ being kind of towards the bottom of them, just from the perspective of,
yeah, it's
delayed
right.
payment, no installments, low rate. However, in CJ's favor, I don't really give a shit about the rate. So think about this, disclaimer on what I just said. If I get $1,000 from him, is that better than getting $400 from Kent for a carport enclosure? Well, hell yeah, $1,000 on a $100,000 project. I don't give a shit that it was a $100,000 project. In my cash flow, it's just $1,000 compared to Kent might have paid me 400 or 600 or whatever for a small project. Of course, Kent pays me 3,000 for bigger projects, but um, just to keep it all in perspective. So it's relative to that lead. It's not really the rate, you clear?
Yep.
Okay. But the next, then I'll put another disclaimer on top of what I just said. Why do I want another builder serving Fort Worth or Dallas and Arlington and all that, which is on my list today? Carlos has somebody identified. It's in my inbox. I haven't called yet. They replied, said they're interested when, quoting some project. I don't know the detail.
Oh, cool.
Well, if I have that same project that CJ was going to pay me 1,000 on, can I find a builder that would charge the same thing to the homeowner and pay me 2,000, or whatever.
Right.
So,
Right.
so that is the business. And really that's my business. Right. And when I have things working good, TP is just fucking, you heard 10 days ago or whatever, you were on the phone with me. She calls up and said, I got a check for you for $305. What's your mailing address? I got another check coming for you in a few weeks.
Yeah.
And we hadn't,
Well, I learned that in real
checked in with
estate.
her since April on those leads,
I
Go ahead.
learned that in real estate. you always look at the money, who's going to pay you the most.
Uh-huh.
So it's like, I am very aware of some of the builders on that.
Yeah. So Kent and Tony and these builders that are good, and there's a lot of them. They are such a stretch from. I mean, even CJ is good, but he's never gonna compete with Kent or Jimmy Cooper or whatever. There's all these people that he's never gonna compete with, and that's fine. And then there's people that we for sure like CJ. FT in San Antonio. He has paid me, but he took like fucking 9 months to pay me after the job was done. And I had to follow up with them and chase him a little bit, not much. Like once I caught up with him, he'd like changed his phone numbers or lost his cell phone or whatever. Once I caught up and was like, yep, I'll cut you a check today. But I had to follow up with him. He didn't email me. He had my email address. He didn't use it. He got busy with other stuff. But so it wasn't like a dishonesty thing. It was like he wasn't. That wasn't my perception, at least. It was just because he paid me right away when I asked in full. But being overloaded and how organized he was and, how he was handling everything, that all matters. All right. So what are so that's what I start with is new requests, and I'm sorting through them. I'm going to put stuff into NR1 that, okay, we'll research it. We'll get to it later. I've already handled it. Here's the next step for making the record, whatever. Right. So I'm looking for those voicemails and emails of brand new leads that especially are clear about where they are and what it is. And I immediately identify, that's a place where we have builders already, affiliates. So with that aside, when a coordinator or account manager starts their day, or when they're done with those, or when I'm done with those things, what are the three things that we've gone over this 1,000 times? What are the three things real briefly that are the responsibilities of the coordinator or account manager?
Confirming, shit. I'm
so
sorry.
So confirming is part of my top answer. My number one issue is connecting with the priority builders, ideally by phone,
right,
in order to offer them a new lead, assign them a new lead, confirm a lead, and otherwise get updates, and otherwise have them direct us on what updates they want us to do.
Right.
Okay. And that's I think that one. Confirm is part of that. Go ahead.
Right. And I mean,
that's a big part.
Well, that's like I said, the big one is contacting, talking to all the builders, confirming the leads, doing all that stuff.
Yeah. And as far as confirming, that can be email or text, but I like to call them just in case they pick up the phone.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, that's why I was in the middle of typing a text message. But let's see.
So that's number one, is following up with the builders, including confirming new leads. What are the other two things for main responsibilities?
I'm sorry, my brain's in a different mode. I can't even think. Shit, I can't think of it, JR. I mean, I can't.
If we don't have a builder in that area, then what do we do?
Oh yeah. Recruiting.
And then builders. Once we recruit a new builder in an area, or we reactivate somebody, like I don't know who. Mac in Nashville. Mac went inactive and now he's active again, or is it Mac? Yeah.
Actually, there was another builder this week that we haven't talked to in like a year. That I sent him a message and asked him if he was interested in a lead. Shit.
Okay, so we get a new builder. Don't worry about who it was. We get a new builder or reactivate an old builder. That's part of the recruiting thing. We identify areas where we need to do, where we want to focus on recruiting. Then we do whatever recruiting or reactivating a builder. And then once we have somebody in an area where we have a bunch of leads, what do we do? What's number three?
Reach out to the homeowner.
Yes, but I call it reactivating the lead. But yeah, reaching out to the homeowner. Correct. Yeah. Okay, so that's the coordinator's main role, and you can skip the 144 when you got started in training and your job. You didn't do the assigning a lead much. You just went right to those three things, hopefully, and you continue to do that.
Right. And that's what I do. I keep voice open on like 4 accounts all the time on my computer.
Okay.
And NR1 and PR1. And 144. I leave those things in Z1. Those are the like 3 or 4 emails and 3 or 4 voices that I leave open like 24/7 on my computer. So those are the things that kind of like what you say on your phone. That's what I look at first to see if there are text messages or missed phone calls or things like that on those, or emails. That's what I do when I first log in, when I first get on the computer. Kind of similar kind of thing that you're talking about.
So I want you to be aware of replies that have come in, and texts, emails, responses. That could be to confirm a lead. So, or that could be to cancel a lead. The homeowner says I hired somebody, whatever. I want you to be aware of those. You may or may not act on them. You may just set it, you may do like I do and put "you are," and forward it back in and say, okay, you've seen it, but you're not going to take the time to push it into the calendar or whatever. So let's see. Let me see. I know I had another question or something to throw at you, but I don't remember what it is right now. So, well, let's see. So when is a situation where you see? Oh, okay. So consider a situation where there's a group of similar tasks that you want to have done, but you don't want to do it right now. You want to make some calls because it's almost 5 p.m. Eastern or whatever. You have other priorities, but you see stuff that needs to be done. Can you give me an example of an occasion where it would be favorable and effective for you to offload for you to delegate it to someone else?
Well, and actually I've gotten a lot better with that. I may not compose the text or the email or whatever, but I've gotten to where I'll just like in the top line put text per and move it to tomorrow, that kind of thing, or I'll group them together like that.
So I phrased that question where if a group of the same action that needs to be done, so individual cases, you've seen me, I'll write out, ask him, did you get your variance? And I'll write that in the very top line. So you've seen those little specialized cases where I'll basically draft the text or I'll draft the email right there and just put it in a future date. What about where there's the same thing needs to be done in multiple cases? Can you think of a situation like that?
Yeah, like PV,
like what?
Like a PV thing where it'll say Bradley Hall and it'll have 4 of his things. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
I don't. I'm actually asking this a little open ended. I don't really have one answer in mind.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I was thinking like well, kind of what I do is, for example, and let me tell you what I do, and maybe you can say no, you shouldn't do it like that. Is I will see like, okay, I need to talk to JOZ. And I know I need to call JOZ. So what I'll do, I'll group together. I'll just type JOZ in the calendar. And when it pulls up JOZ, I'll send all of those to a certain day or certain time. So I can call him and they're all right there together. And I can say, hey, Joe, what about this one? What about this one? What about this? That kind of thing.
Yes. Okay. So that's a task that you would do yourself, but it is like grouping them together. So that's related to my question. But my question was something that you would have somebody else do, whether that's hypothetically me, but really what I mean is Joel.
Yeah, well, exactly. And that's something that I'm horrible about.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking you this question, kind of to give you that framework of, well, when would I do that? What would be a case where I do that? Yeah.
And I guess it's a micromanaged thing about me. Is that's something I have to start doing. I have to delegate, and I don't.
So to me, are you ready for an answer that I thought of?
Yes, please. Yes.
So we get it was back to item 3 of the responsibilities of the coordinator. We get a new builder. Let's say it's Saturday at 8 p.m. or whatever, I'm making this up. And you're like, okay, we've got the new builder, or we got the reactivated builder like Mac in Nashville or whatever. And here's these 2 months or 4 months of leads, like the Garage ADU in Tampa that I signed yesterday. But we have the exact same thing that needs to be happen for all of them. Just like, I'll write email homeowner still interested. Well, I'm recording, by the way. So that would be a case. So we've got the builder, we've got a bunch of leads in that area, and we want to just email them. Are you still interested, or are you still looking for a builder? Actually, are you still looking for a builder, or are you still looking for a quote? Are you still looking for assistance with your project, such as a quote for the build or drawings or permanent assistance? Those are the variations of things that I'm asking people a lot.
Okay.
And we do have that where you're going to pick you'll say, okay, this guy serves that area. I'm going to pick 5 leads and I'll put them on that date with that follow-up, but I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to put that exact same instruction for whoever to do.
Right.
And the date that I could list it could be like, the next business day is often
Okay.
what it would be. If you're, mostly
Yeah.
these aren't situations where we're going to wait a week to do it. It's going to be that it's not going to happen today, but you'll put it to be done. And if Joel doesn't get to it and 20 hours pass and you come and see that they're not done, then you absolutely can handle it yourself. But
Sure.
you at least put it out there, and it's that same task. It's going to be to individual recipients if it's an email or a text or whatever.
Well, and
but
that's one thing that's kind of caught me off guard, because inadvertently I've been doing that.
Mhm.
And I know in my mind I did this, and so I go back to do it, and I'm like, wait a minute, it's already done. Well, and so I'm learning. I've learned inadvertently, I guess, to do that, because Joel takes care of it, and I didn't expect him. I'll put text this or
Huh?
email
Yeah, you
this or
put it
whatever,
in the future calendar. That is his job, right?
and I go back
His
and it's done.
Right.
And
His
I'm like,
job is to look at the calendar. His job
yeah,
isn't to handle new requests in 144, right? His job
yeah,
isn't to call the builders. That's so there's my job, there's your job, and then there's Joel and Marianne. And actually the other thing is some of these new folks that are just starting, I don't know that I'm gonna, they're not gonna probably do I'm not gonna double Joel's job or whatever, because he has a lot more hours he can work, I believe, and he's doing all right as long as we, as long as we do what we're doing. Like, to me, the errors with Joel are mostly, or the issues with Joel are mostly management issues, not Joel's actual execution issues.
yeah.
I understand there are execution issues, but his execution issues to me come back to management, not really on him. There
Yeah.
are errors. He's done stuff like he spelled somebody's name wrong, or Marianne put the wrong, sent it to the wrong builder, or sent it to James Levero's personal email or whatever. There have been issues, but those execution errors are minor. And as long as we as middle managers or top managers are on top of that area, or keeping up with that area, then we're going to notice those things, and we're going to call the builder or text the builder, and we're going to sort that out. We're not going to find out 2 months later that we've been sending emails to the wrong email address for months. Same thing with Jimmy Cooper. He said, this is my new email, don't use the old one. And I
Yeah.
think that came up because we had been using the wrong one, meaning Joel. And that was on me or other people that knew that address and didn't emphasize it to Joel, didn't put it on the spreadsheet or whatever. I've definitely seen where we had the wrong, a phone number digit was wrong
Sure.
by 1 digit. Well, then it fucking doesn't work to text that builder or call that builder or that homeowner.
Right.
That's
Right.
the problem. All right. So I want to kind of put you in that frame of mind where you're looking for things that are valuable to do, but that are tasks that you don't need to do, especially it's the exact same task in that one region. And maybe you
Yeah.
do 5 on Monday and 5 on Tuesday because you don't actually want to assign Joe Orgaz 5. If you get 5 affirmative, responses on Monday, well, you don't want to give them 5 on Monday, right? You may actually want to spread them out a little bit, but for an area like Phoenix, that's not so much of an issue. Like, we've got builders spread around where we can handle 10, leads in a day. We got the builders to cover that. We'll send a couple to KR. We'll send several to KK, whatever, LYA, I don't know how well you know him. So, so the biggest issue though for you as coordinator is assessing builders, keeping up with them, identifying when we need to recruit another builder. It's not your job so much to do that recruiting, but to make sure that it gets done. By who? Well, ultimately by me, but you can participate in it a little or a lot, or entirely handle it. So that covers several things I wanted to cover, and I also want to let you have time to do your regular stuff.
Yeah. Well, just to touch on it, just so you're aware, is I'm finally catching on to the whole assigning things or putting things in the calendar for Joel to do. So it's
delegating,
delegating, and it's delegating isn't something I'm good at, and so I kind of inadvertently was doing it, and now I'm like, oh shit, okay, that makes things a lot easier. But yeah,
and then there will be there'll be occasions as we have new people coming in, like I want to it's when you're delegating stuff, the issue is you or I as manager or middle manager, if things aren't done right, then it's for us to make sure people get retrained or reassigned or fired, or that things get handled appropriately is the point there. So the delegating, I do mean delegating. I've used this phrase offloading, which kind of sounds like, oh, it's not, it's not your responsibility. No, it's still, to me, the manager, the account manager, or the coordinator, it's still your responsibility, but it just works better for you to delegate certain things, especially if they're being done efficiently and rapidly by Joel overnight. So you put it in there at 8 p.m., you come back at 8 a.m. and 3 hours of stuff is done. And there's some replies in the inboxes of people saying, yes, I'm still interested, or yes, I saw the bid, or yes, I want another contract. Can you refer me to another contractor? I want to get a couple more bids. Those are those are fantastic outcomes, and there's no way for us to, you or I, to do in 40 hours of work in 24 hours unless we're spreading it out to Joel and to Sergio and to whoever, these different staff.
Yeah.
And in a lot of cases that will be really efficient. And then you get on the phone and how's things going with talking to homeowners? Are you doing that a lot or pretty rarely? And when I say talking to them, I include leaving voicemails.
Yeah. I mean, actually the ones I'm talking to or calling the most are ones that it's like, for example, the one I just left a message for. We're waiting on a variance. It's like, hey, Brittany, it's so, or like, are we waiting on a survey? Did the survey get done? Or, it's that kind of things. It's not, it's ones that it's already established that, they've been working. So it's more of follow up. So I'm not really having to get into deep discussions about stuff. So it's, it's, hey, how's that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, for every 3 builders I call, I probably call 2 or 3 homeowners as well. So
really, okay, yeah. I talk to builders a lot more than I talk to homeowners, and I'm supposed to be the main person following up with homeowners, but I get to that when I'm done with the builders, so I never really catch up with the builders.
It'll just, I mean, it'll happen inadvertently. Like that one, I just left a voicemail for Bradley Hall. So when I pulled up all the BH leads, well, it had on there that tomorrow I had in the top line to call Brittany Green tomorrow to find out about the variance. So I'm like, well, I'm already here right now, so I'll call her right now. That kind of thing. You see what I mean?
Yeah, and so that's another thing where, back to Nicole, I really want the process to be driven by the builder. And if Bradley or Nicole specifically says, hey, please check in with Brittany, or leave Brittany alone for a few weeks and check in with me. That's where Joel can't know those things, right? That's where talking to the builders or interacting with the builders is so key, because different builders are going to have a different situation. They may be a little bit overloaded and they really want us to do a lot of those routine follow-ups, and other people may even be offended if we're doing, or even if they're not offended, it can complicate things. We can confuse people. I think that's what I wrote to Nicole the other day is if for she had said something like, well, um, I got confused because like you sent something to some homeowner on about the size on the 28th, and on the 29th they had replied and you had forwarded it to Nicole, but I don't know if it was in the calendar entry. I think I found it as I'm looking through what's going on as of 10/3. She has I'm seeing an email from her saying we're gonna wait, and I'm like, but I thought, um, as I researched it, I'm like, I think on the 29th of September that the homeowner had replied whatever the size was, and you had already sent it to Nicole on the 29th. And so, and I think I may have seen that after I actually sent her the email too. But like, we do not want to be in the middle. If the
Sure.
builder asks us to follow up, great, but our job is getting leads assigned.
Actually,
That's our
that
getting
one,
leads assigned and
okay.
confirmed, right? And then getting new builders. That's really where we want to focus. And then
I knew there was some confusion on that one because
mhm,
what had happened was when the homeowner sent the lead in, he didn't have dimensions. And so I had told Nicole, I had sent the lead to Nicole and told her, hey, I had asked the guy and was waiting on a reply from him on the size, and I'll let you know when he
okay.
sends me the size.
Yeah, I
And so
saw it and I thought, okay, in a way, I have overstepped here. In a way, it was,
kind of
it's,
convoluted. Yeah.
well, it's like what you did is fine, but I think one of the things I said is let's fucking copy everybody and everything so that when
Yeah.
the dude replies, she's
It
already
goes
got it
straight to
and it
her.
doesn't
Right.
have any of this. I'll wait to hear from. That's really what I reacted to is why is she waiting on Rafa?
Yeah.
That's a bad plan. And I mentioned, you could get sick, which was because you were sick the other day, and
Yeah.
all these other issues. Like I really
Sure.
dislike that, and
Sure.
I want it to be we're doing the double outreach as a group in
Yeah.
the text as an email, and
And and
and
and in
she's
that
copying
case,
us
what
on
I
stuff. The homeowner's copying us, so we see the homeowner replied. When the builder just replies to us, or the homeowner just replies to us, it's a complication and delay. But
yeah.
that's going to happen. We can't stop people from hitting reply instead of
Well,
reply all.
I think what I did that was the most that caused the confusion on that one is I sent it to Nicole too soon because I sent it to Nicole. I had asked that guy for the dimensions before I had sent it to Nicole,
Mhm.
and then I went ahead and sent it to Nicole before that guy sent me the dimensions. I should have waited till he sent me the dimensions and
Okay.
then assigned it to Nicole, and that way it would have all been taken care of with her.
Mm, yeah.
So,
Well, my
but
thought is if you knew this was going to go to Nicole, what is
yeah.
my first thing when we talked about in the
Sure.
beginning of this whole thing? I get a lead
Yeah.
in and I send it to the builder.
Yeah.
Maybe I send it to the homeowner as well and ask them for the size. But the number one issue to me is if I know the builder and I like the builder, I send it to the builder.
Because Nicole would have taken care of this size.
Exactly. She's going to handle those things. Now I'm going to ask if if my first reply to the homeowner copies the builder, I introduce the builder. Brian's going to be calling you. By the way, we'll be interested to
Yeah.
know what size you have in mind. Please send
Right.
us, a few more details and whatever. And I like to keep that
Exactly.
real short. I did do one the other day. Oh, it's because of that new builder in Tampa. He and I talked. I have this recorded. He and I talked. He went through. I'd like for you to ask them, JR, about budget. I'd like for you to ask them about size. I'd like for you to ask them about, I don't know what else. Oh, I brought up concrete block or wood frame or brick or whatever. And so I actually asked 3 questions in my initial response to that homeowner or in the introduction of the builder. It might have been a homeowner I texted with the other day, but anyway, so I'm introducing the builder and I hit him with 3 questions, the homeowner with 3 questions because the builder directed me to ask specific questions. He requested that I ask those questions so that he can just get a reply from the homeowner and doesn't even need to call and already knows a lot about you know how he ranks that within his priorities for the day or for the week. And that's wonderful. All good.
Yep. Yep.
All right,
Sounds
let me
good.
let you go. I'm gonna go eat
Alrighty.
breakfast, and then if you have questions on any, what do you call it, procedural stuff, let me know.
Sounds good. Talk to you later.
All right, thank you, sir. Have a good one.
Okay, you too.
Bye.